Hi, Sung. How you doing? Okay, I've got your post up here. There's an old MacBook ad. This is a pretty old ad, as you mentioned, and you can clearly see by the computer itself. Number one, it's really super thick, and number two, it's got this disk drive in it, and Mac hasn't put disk drives in their laptops for a minute now. So this is an older ad. Plus, there's a technique in here that also dates the ad. It's this reflection of the type that you talked about. We still see products being reflected quite a bit in contemporary advertising, but we just don't see this. I haven't seen this effect here in about 10 years or so. I'm going to guess this ad's about 10 years old based on the way the computer looks plus that technique right there. So, I mean, it's a clever ad, but I find some fault in this ad. I do. I think there's a couple of issues with this ad. And let's go ahead and take a look. I think your analysis of the ad is very good. One thing I would want you to reconsider is you say this is symmetry. Is this symmetry or is this asymmetry? And I want you to answer this question in response to this video, but think about this. You've got this visual weight right here, okay? And then if we take a look at this, well, we've got the center axis and we've got this visual weight here. So the distribution, those are basically almost equal in their visual weight. So in that regard, yes, it is symmetry based on distribution of visual weight. But when we look at the elements, it's asymmetry. And the reason I say that is because this is not going to fold over on this. I think this is just too irregularly shaped to call this symmetry. Okay, now if this were a rectangle right here that had this information, or even this picture in it, and the rectangle were right here, yes, it would be symmetry, because then you would have equal distribution of the visual weight on the right and left hand side of the composition. But we don't see that here, and it's based on this shape right here. Okay, so that's why I'm saying I see asymmetry in here and not symmetry. It's close though, it really is. I mean, I can clearly see where someone would call this symmetry. So it's an interesting composition, to say the least. Now, I find that the composition is out of balance, and the reason I say that is, yes, the visual weight associated with this right-hand side with the logo and the text is about the same as the visual weight right here, given that negative space right here. But the problem I'm having is that this is not centered. It's a little bit left of center, creating more weight here, which kind of throws the ad out of balance a little bit heavy to the left-hand side of the composition. And that's simply based on visual weight. Also, I think that this is really peculiar. I think this shape right here, and in conjunction with this white cover for the laptop, and it's how it's kind of bisecting the page. I think this could almost be mistaken for two ads, one MacBook Pro and then some other ad. It's almost mistaken for two different compositions, especially since it's completely separated right here. We lose all the detail in that cover of the computer, so it almost looks like it's just a separating line. Okay, so anyways, as far as balance goes, I think it's really, like I said before, I think it's a clever idea, putting the pages in the book. I just don't think execution is quite there, which is really, really unusual for a Mac ad, because typically they're just impeccably beautiful. So this one is a little bit of an anomaly in that regard. At any rate, so we've got the distribution here. This is all center aligned. So the right-hand side of the composition is showing symmetry. And this is another interesting thing. The right-hand side of the composition is showing symmetry, where the left-hand side of the composition is showing, you guessed it, asymmetry. So that's a really unique setup right there. Now, my question for you is this. Suppose we did this. Now, let me ask you a question. If we were to take this particular image, okay, and you just tell me how you think this would affect the balance. Let's say we give a 3/4 product shot of the computer, all right, with the pages in it, and then we show that the whole computer, instead of having it bleed off the page, show the whole computer right here. And then over here in the corner, we have MacBook Pro, the logo, and the little subtext. So in other words, you're placing the whole product shot here and then placing the logo down here. How is that going to affect the ad? Is it going to enhance it? Is it going to diminish the effectiveness? Or what do you think by redistributing the weight, how is that going to affect the message? Think about it and let me know what your thoughts are. Okay? Great job, Sung. Thanks so much for sharing.